Look at that.
Oh, look at
That's
that.
what
We
I'm
figured
talking
it
about.
out.
We defeated technology right there.
We got it.
Awesome. Well, Dave, how's it going, man?
It's going okay. I've got a studio audience here. I've got some pups down here, but they're all
Yeah.
sleeping.
Who do you have with you right now?
And I've got Brownie Jane over here sleeping next to me, and then I got Lord Chance, Peggy Sue, Evie G. Gabor, and Miss Reba.
I love all the names. I love seeing all the posts on your Instagram account when it's like, you put their names and everything like that. It's really cute.
They do have a great set of
They
names.
do have a great, and you came up with those, didn't you?
What I try to do is I try never to change the dog's name when it comes here. I just try to add to it. And
Nice. Nice.
so Brisket, we didn't have to do anything with him because Brisket in itself is just
That's a
Brisket.
pretty good
So
name. Yeah.
he was, and he looks like a brisket, so he was perfect.
That's awesome. Well, thanks for joining the WAG Pod. We have Dave Zimmerman, founder of Project Kina, and basically that started off as you guys were kind of helping rescue senior dogs or special needs dogs, and it's really turned into something a lot bigger since then. So, and then you're also based in, is it Philadelphia? Is that correct?
Oh no, don't ever say we're from Philadelphia.
Okay.
That's not good. We're in Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, cut that out. No Philadelphia, Pittsburgh. That's
Yeah,
right.
that's a bad Philadelphia and
No.
Pittsburgh. That's
So you're a
no.
Steelers guy instead, right?
Definitely a Steelers guy and a Pirate guy and a Penguin guy. So
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I mean
if
that's
I
fair.
said
It's
if
split.
I said I was from Philadelphia with the dogs here, I'd have my bags on the front porch and they would tell me to leave. Nothing
I'm
against Philadelphia, but it
of
is
course.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean I have a friend who's a cheerleader for the Eagles, so I'm bound to like them a little bit, but for some reason I've always liked the Packers. I don't know why, but that's just it is what it is. So, but for this time I'll say I like the Steelers. I feel like that's good.
Yeah, well, that's a good move because I do have a couple of the big dogs here with me right now. So
You'll send them through the screen. That's funny. You're rocking the Project Kina shirt too. I love it.
yes, yeah, these are the guys that these are dogs that we had lost. So this is
Gotcha.
the memorial shirt. We call this the Big Four.
Oh, that's awesome.
We got Sergeant Squirrel, Will the Thrill, Mr. Slim, and the Lucy.
Great. That's a good way to memorialize. So you started this, I think you've been doing it for about, you say 20 years? I know we talked a while ago.
Yeah, we started strictly with Rottweilers. I was trying to help Rottweilers,
Cool. What
and
what made you interested in Rottweiler specifically?
I just met one time, and I just think Rottweilers overall were just wonderful dogs. I
Yeah.
mean, they're loyal. They're great with kids. They're raised with kids. They'll be another babysitter. You never have to hire a babysitter.
Yep.
Their temp. Everyone misconceives their temperament. Their temperament is fantastic.
Right.
I mean, they'll naturally guard a house or guard. I mean, they're protective, but they're not ferocious raised correctly, and they're just
Sure.
wonderful dogs.
That's funny.
Um,
I did a podcast with this couple from the Netherlands who they're like a pet influencer and they're big they have a Rottweiler, it's named Dice, and their big thing is kind of like showing the softer side of Rottweilers. Because I feel like especially pit bulls, but also Rottweilers kind of get that negative connotation oftentimes.
mhm. Yeah, I think all the ones that we ever had. I don't have any right now. We just did help send one from a youth list in California to a lady in Florida. He's living on a big farm in Florida, and
Awesome.
he's just doing wonderful.
Yeah,
He's a real short, tubby Rottweiler, and he's just very cute. So,
that's great. So you
except for
started with
I
Rottweilers.
correct, and then um, we kind of Kina was actually she was one of the last Rottweilers that I personally had, and we rescued her from up here at a place called Mercer County,
Hmm.
and she was tied outside with other Rottweilers, and they didn't make it. And I had a friend, very good friend up there, who actually is another Rottweiler person, and said, "Can you take her?" I said, "I can't take another dog. I can't." Well, she came, and she she was fantastic, and her real name was Lena,
Hmm.
but she had to go to court. She actually went into court. She was in such bad shape,
Wow.
and So after she testified in court, we put her in the witness protection plan and we changed her name to Tina.
For a second, I was saying, I thought you were saying like they brought the dog into court to like show, but you were okay. I gotcha. I like that. It took a second. I was like enthralled by the story, and I was like, yeah, yeah. Witness protection's a good play. They'll never know Kina was Elena.
But she was a wonderful dog, and she actually trained Mr. Slim, who was my right hand guy for many years. He was
Yeah.
another Rottweiler, and he was a big boy, and he helped me really work with other dogs because he was just wonderful with other dogs, wonderful with people. He was a real ambassador to the breed, and that's when we started working with senior dogs because he was so gentle and looked out for them so much.
Wow.
Now, Tina was a senior dog when she came to us too. But so our main priority is helping out with senior dogs, but we do high youth list. We work with some shelters in California, and we help to finance and help to find owners for them and ship them across the country.
Yeah.
Uh,
So what I know I've tuned in on your Friday. What is it called when you like have the
$5 Friday.
$5 Friday? That's right. And that's
Yeah.
where people like buy X amount of tickets for $5 and then
Yes.
so I love seeing those lives too when you have like I think it was Peggy Sue last time who was helping you do the reading with it. I love
They
it.
take that they take that job seriously.
They better.
We just lost this guy right here, Manny. We just lost him. He was
That's right.
15, and he was the one that would lick all the tickets to make sure they were official. And
Oh, that's great.
but he was a wonderful dog. He came to us from Mississippi. He was shot with a shotgun,
No
and
way.
so we had to replace his hip. And then we found out he had heartworm in addition to that. So we had to
Yeah,
treat his heartworm. So
man.
I didn't think he was going to make it. So I figured he was going to be with me for maybe, 5, 6 months. He couldn't walk or anything. And next thing you know, in the backyard, he started to run and he was here for 5 years. So
Yeah.
he was, yeah.
It was Macho Manny, is that right?
Macho Manny, and he has a favorite MMA fighter here. He dresses up and goes to the ring with. He went to the ring with them, and
That's
he was.
so great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Manny was one of those soul dogs like Mr. Slim was.
Yeah,
He was a tough loss, and then
definitely.
Little Chance is still here, and Brownie Jane are still here.
Yep.
They're all Mississippi dogs.
Yep.
So,
Interesting. And so how, when you first started this, I mean, I guess now it's definitely easier to communicate with people when you have, Zoom and you're able to, use maps and all that kind of stuff. But 20 years ago, that's a whole different ball game. So how did you go about, finding animals that needed to be saved in, let's say, I mean, I guess it was local, but then California or other states?
well, actually, our first California dog was from Stanislaus, and one of their networkers reached out to me, and I'm very cautious with networkers. Don't get me wrong, they mean well, but they a lot of times don't understand. Like we're not a physical shelter.
Sure.
So we have to make sure that these dogs have a home. It's a huge financial commitment. The average dog, if we have to board it once we pull it, I mean, it's the minimums we're looking at $1,500 a dog. Um, so that's the kind of money we have to raise. And then, a lot of people that adopt, we ask them to donate what they can. Many people can adopt, pay for transport, some
Hmm.
can't. So we rely on the honor system to
Right.
help these dogs.
Right.
And so when they contacted me, they're like, "Do you have your 501(c)(3)?" And they wanted all this paperwork. And here we don't do that. So I'm thinking, this is a scam.
Yeah.
Someone's trying to get our information. And it turned out her name was Autumn. She's wonderful. She does wonderful work for that shelter. So we decided, oh yeah, we're going to pull it. So we pulled one, and we said, I'm only going to take it if we have a home. We try to avoid fosters as much as possible.
Yeah.
Um,
Like you
Unfortunately,
specifically or the group as a whole?
with any dogs that we pull, I'm kind of under the belief that we don't get government money. Everything we raise is is what we raise. I mean,
Right.
that's
Privately
it.
donated.
And
Yeah.
shelters, in my opinion, should do a better job finding fosters within there because they have the funds to do it. So it is such a financial burden for us to foster.
Oh, I'm
And
sure.
then because so many of the dogs are out of state. If someone says, "Hey, I don't want this dog anymore," I have nowhere to put it.
Right.
Like, what am I can't just bring it here for a week. I can't, I can't do any of that.
Because then a week
We,
turns into a month and so on, right? Like there's no.
yeah, yeah, and we do. I mean, we unfortunately, when we're transporting dogs, we'll get ghosted. Someone will say, "I don't want that dog now." So this dog's halfway across the country. And so we have to have a network of people, which we call our fosters, but they're really
Mhm.
not, they were never intended to foster that dog.
Right. That's kind of like a
Um,
backup plan. That's smart. I mean, I get frustrated when I've like booked out, or someone's booked me, I don't know, at the end 2 months away and then they decide to cancel. I can only imagine how frustrating it is to actually spend money, pick up the dog and be mid-transport and
yeah,
then have that happen. That's kind of despicable of people to do
yeah,
stuff like that. It's
yeah.
wild.
Well, we've had that happen. So not, it doesn't happen, it happens less than often, but it does happen. I mean, right now, we technically only have one true dog in foster, and it's in California. And his name's Braun, and he's fantastic. He's an Argentino, and the lady wanted to save him, and we had no one for him, so we agreed to it. But we're trying to find him a home by the 23rd. They've been wonderful fosters, but once again, it's hard to find them a home in California because there's dogs everywhere. And we're hoping to find him a home because we got him neutered. We got him, the fosters did some training with him.
Hmm.
We just hoping. I mean, so technically, he's right now our only foster that we have,
Sure.
and like I said, we're not equipped to be a foster. We're more of a let's find a dog a home and let's be the financial people that can help this dog start a new life.
Right.
So we're not a traditional rescue in terms of we have a kennel, we have we're more of the, and I do get to see so many of the dogs that
Sure. Sure.
my neighbor has Lucy, not the Lucy on my shirt. This is the Lucy. That's Lucy next door. But
Hmm.
she came from California, and a funny story about her. They had her listed as an unneutered male, and it's a female. And they had my one friend, of course, had to be sarcastic and says, "I think that's acceptable in California." And I
Yeah,
said,
I think they are. Exactly.
and
That's great.
so um, he at the time was listed as they were going to put him to sleep. He was just totally untouchable.
Yeah.
And I watched the video, and we work with a trainer in Orange County called Redemption Tales, and
Hmm.
he is one of the best trainers in the country. He's
Really?
phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I had him look at it, and he goes, "That dog's not me." And I said, "I don't think so either." And I said, "Let's do a month of training board and let's find this dog home." So we will do things like that. But it was funny.
Cool.
He called me up because we've got a problem. I'm thinking, "Oh my goodness, the dog's worse than we thought." He goes, "He is a she." So
That's funny.
we he did wonderful. I mean, he's just phenomenal. And then we also got Aramis Knight, who's an actor. Took a little interest in her and helped
Yeah.
promote her and
Yeah.
everything. And so she's got a good actor contact. I guess you want to say she's a little
Sure.
bit of a celebrity. Um, so we sent her somewhere, and it wasn't working out because there was something wrong with her home. I don't want to get into. I don't like to
Right.
really
It just
talk,
wasn't, the
talk bad.
situation wasn't working.
Yeah, and so I drove and got her, and I asked my neighbor. I said, we don't have any fosters. Would you watch her? And he's sure. So after a week, he goes, she's got to go. I said a week, and it's over. And I said, Ed, I got nowhere to put. So it went on, and then he's like, I'm going to keep her. So she's my next door neighbor now, and every morning she runs down to play with mine, and she's a wonderful
Oh,
dog,
that's
and
great.
she's
That's
got
great.
service. He uses her as a service dog for emotional support, and she's fine with it. I mean, she's just a wonderful dog. So she's one of our big success stories. And, just her alone with the board and train and the double transport and everything. I mean, we're looking at like $3,500 to four thousand
Oh, sure.
dollars
Yeah.
alone in
Yeah.
her. And, but yeah, and then
I
we have,
really like hearing that the board and train was also successful. And I remember we had kind of discussed this when we talked for the first time, but with the our philanthropy, the Wagworks Cares, like we're working on. I think the that concept where once a dog is going to be adopted, being able to send them to that board and train and having a group that kind of does that. I think that just hearing the success story that gives me a lot of, I don't know, motivation, inspiration, whatever you want to call it. Like I think it's good to hear that has worked in the past.
No, it's a very good I mean, especially I mean Redemption Tales, I can't say enough about him. Anyone in California that really wants, I mean, he does phenomenal work. I
Yeah,
mean, it's unbelievable. If he was here in Pittsburgh, I would use him. I mean, we do get dogs from all. We do try to help dogs from all over. We have one that for a wedding gift I gave it to my buddy's son a lieutenant in the army,
nice.
and his name's Leroy. I just posted him on Instagram,
Yeah,
and he was on the euthanasia list. I mean, dogs in certain states have no other reason to be on the list other than they give them a month.
right.
So there's so many perfect dogs there that are just, it's so sad to see. And um, there has to be something done to curtail people just taking dogs and living with them on the streets and not getting them neutered and then letting them loose. There has to be stricter guidelines
Yeah,
that
they're
stop this.
almost yeah. I mean, there almost has to be laws there as well, and like same with, I talked about this earlier on a different podcast, I think, but with PETA, for example, right? Like, I think it's great, but sometimes that's over, like almost too extreme, and you have an organization like that coming in. Sometimes, like those laws, the common sense ones, right? Where like North Carolina, where I live, it's like the second highest euthanization rates in all 50 states.
Yeah.
And there it needs so the rescues and all this amazing work that so many people are doing, sometimes I feel like there can be some frustration there because it still is happening. And so I think ultimately it has to come down to policy eventually. But I mean there's it's hard to find a lobbyist for that, or and it's all financial too. So it's tricky. It definitely is.
I think we have to, for the shelters that receive state and government money, I think we need to put the responsibility on. I know they do great work and they're overwhelmed, but I think there should be something allocated for them to do a spay and neuter out on the streets. I think
Mhm.
they need to start doing more active prevention than just saying, "Hey, we have 300 dogs here. What do we do?" Let's get out on the streets, and we are going to start. We lost a good friend of ours. Her name was Janet Underwood. She did all our crafts. I don't know if you ever saw our frames that we used to do and all that.
Mm-mm.
She used to make those, and then every dog that got adopted, she'd make a frame for them, send it
That's
to the
great.
people.
Yeah.
Uh, she had recently passed away,
I'm
and
sorry to hear that.
she had a little bit set aside, and we're going to call it the we called her Mama J. We're going to call it the Mama J, and we're going to use that as a spay and neuter program.
Oh,
So,
fantastic.
so that's going to be our goal. And like I said, we're not able to take 300-400 dogs in a shelter. We're not a shelter, but we can do something that can help prevent unwanted dogs in the community. And then
Exactly.
so many of these, like I have Brisket here. I don't know if you remember seeing Brisket. He's the French bulldog that has the head about the size of a watermelon and his
Yeah.
legs are like, and he was a street dog. I don't know how he survived in Modesto.
Yeah.
And he was on his way to Michigan and his adopter had heart problems.
Hmm.
So
See that I feel like that's a good reason. It's not just like he's ghosting you, right? Like there,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
she's someone I've known for years. So it wasn't, but I rehomed him 3 times and he came back all 3 times, not because of him, but he got beat up by cats once. Another dog wasn't fixed and it was just,
yeah,
so he was another one he was a feral dog and now he's fantastic.
that's
So
great.
so but yeah, first thing we did with him was get him neutered,
Right.
but if everyone tries to do what they can, and I almost think that like people that do minimal fostering here and there, they would probably be better off to just adopt a dog instead
Sure.
of, and
Only fostering. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if all those people that call themselves fosters would just adopt 1 or 2 dogs, that would put a huge dent into.
Well, I wonder
And
if too a large portion, and you know better than me, but I wonder if a large portion of fosters are people who already have one or two dogs and they're saying, okay, I'll take a third or a fourth for now. Or you think it's mostly like there are people who are like, okay, I foster dogs, that's what I do. I will never adopt. I would think that there's more people who already have dogs who foster just because they're more dog people, I guess.
yeah, I mean, I think you have a little bit of both.
Hmm.
Um, I've seen both. I mean, we kind of got into like kind of cornered into a situation with a foster
Hmm.
that had her own dogs, but she fosters all the time, and I think what she was doing was using it to pay for her own dogs with food and everything like that. And I had explained to her, we're not a foster-based rescue. We don't
No.
really buy food. We don't buy food for dogs. We don't do. That's not what we
And
do.
to do that for a dog, yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean, I mean, we've been attacked for things, and like saying, "Hi, how can?" I said, "Well, that was really not our foster dog. We had the ability to pull the dog for a different group, and they put it there, and then said they start contacting us like a month later. Hey, this lady, and we did. We paid for the neuter and the spay of the dogs
Yeah.
because I think that's out of responsibility. But after that,
No.
that's not our deal.
So
So
after that too, are you still looking for a permanent home for the dog, or if someone fosters, or is it their job to find someone?
we prefer the Fosters. I mean, we like I said, we have very little. We had one here that she had too many. It's another long story, but she
Yes.
didn't do
Yeah.
anything to find those dogs a home, and you have to, especially if like where Braun is in California, they're trying down there, but it's just so hard, in California. And she did have some people interested, but he's an 80-pound dog, and they had like infants. And I'm like, he's great with kids, loves kids, but like a 2 or 3 year old, if he decides to run and hits that kid's going for a
Yeah.
ride.
Yeah.
So like we really don't foster it. When we do, in this case, we'll try to find them a home. We
Sure.
Most of our dogs get taken right from, hey, this person saw this dog at this shelter. It's going to be
Hmm.
euthanized tomorrow. So they'll contact us. And then we work with a lady named Brandy, who's fantastic. She
Hmm.
also has a rescue called Wolf Tribe, which is she does a lot of husky work, and she's
Cool.
fantastic. And she'll coordinate transport, and then we'll be the in between to get that dog to their new home. That's basically what we do. Or if we had Ari, who was a senior dog that was found on the side of the street. She asked if we could. So he had heartworm and everything. So we act as the people that'll raise the money to pay for
Sure.
the medical care. So that's more than what we like to do. But of
Right.
course, we end up with a dog that gets ghosted, and then of course they call us like, it's your dog now. And, well, okay, I guess it's our dog now. So
Right. What do you think it is about California? I have another lady who I did the podcast with. She's awesome. It's a Ride for Paws Rescue and Transport, and she goes and kind of picks up dogs a lot of the times in California, then kind of drops them off everywhere. I know when you think of California, right? There's a huge problem, and I guess the same applies to dogs. Like, what do you think is the biggest thing that's causing all of these dogs and no change to actually happen?
um, I I I just, like I said, I think they're homeless problem. And for instance, my friend Brandy, there was a cart. She saved, like, I think it was like 22 dogs. She calls them the cartel dogs. So it was a cartel place, and what they do is they get these dogs and let them roam around for protection.
Sure.
Then when people find out the cartel's there, the law finds out the cartel leaves. And then the homeless people come in and live there, and they keep them as pets, and they never get them spayed and neutered.
Yep.
So what used to be 20 dogs over 2 years is now 60 or 70 dogs. And
Yeah.
that's a big problem. But
Yeah.
I think the homeless problem, I think, you know, everyone, you feel bad for someone that it's homeless and their best friend is a dog and it's their only friend. But if that dog's not spayed or neutered, and that person, gets sick or decides it doesn't want the dog, and it has no ability, they have no ability to do anything
Of
but let it
course.
loose on the streets. And
It
that's
is
that.
such a hard situation because like you want to look at like you see someone on the side of the road that's homeless with a dog and they're holding, and then your mind goes to, at least me, I'm like, well, why do they have a dog if they're homeless, right? They should be. But who knows? Who knows their situation? Who knows what they're going through? And as you probably know quite well, dogs are awesome. So it's how can you help? And I think you're definitely finding a good way to do that.
Yeah, yeah. We had, I mean, we, like I said, it gets frustrating when you have a situation where you get ghosted, or like we had a dog named Spike and someone wanted him in Massachusetts. Well, she got him and said, I don't want him now. Well, technically, it's not our dog, but
Right.
we're not going to turn our back on it. So we brought it back to Ohio
Yeah.
with someone who has adopted. They're wonderful people. They adopted two Dobermans, and we were, helped them with that. They had it, and then it was no longer getting along with their other Doberman, so we had to find a home. So it's here. It actually found a home here in Pittsburgh with an 80-year-old guy. His name's Spike, but you
Nice.
know, so but you look at that whole thing. There was probably about a $2,200 expense just
Because
without medical. We did
yeah.
get it neutered. We paid for his neuter when he got to Ohio. We tried to do that, So I mean, we didn't treat him any differently when he got to Ohio for what we would have done in
Right. It's the
Massachusetts.
same
But
situation. That's
and then
that's
we,
good.
yeah, we also had. There was kind of funny. He also had a celebrity contact. Reed Miller and his wife Anna Miller
Yeah.
helped promote him on their Instagram. And Reed's new movie just came out.
Yeah.
Him and his wife are just wonderful people. And I mean, like I said, the nice thing about this, we've got to meet some pretty cool people that you just normally wouldn't meet. And
Right.
I mean, of course, we when Karate Kid Legends came out, we promoted it on our. I think Miss Reba went to the movies with us, and she goes, "Her favorite Aramis Nights in here," and I mean, it was a great movie. But
Yeah.
dogs got to pay back for what they've done to help promote the dogs. And then when Wreath just came out, Almost Popular, we
Yeah.
did something on there. So
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
I saw that. That's
yeah,
great.
so a plug for those two. Go see Almost Popular and go see Karate Kid Legends because they
Yeah.
have two great dog people in starring in them. So
That's fantastic. And then how did
um,
you end up, or how did like these kind of, I guess, celebrities, right, end up hearing about Project Kina? How does that kind of happen?
it's just I just think they're dog people. They see a dog and they like it, and you say thanks. And we have, we've had athletes, we have actors, we have politicians, which you got to be careful of because we don't want to keep the dogs just available to one group of
Right.
people.
Right. Dogs should be
um,
apolitical.
yes, but I mean, we meet a lot of great people, and we do a fundraiser every year. Last year we had DJ come in, and he was real popular, and so we try to do that. But yeah, I think if you're a dog person for that moment, you're not a doctor, you're not a lawyer, you're not an actor, you're a dog person, and you connect with other dog people, and you have dog conversations,
Yeah,
and that's what you do, and I know both those people are, and Reed and his wife as well. They're just huge animal people that, between dogs and cats, and that's what connects people.
definitely. That's amazing. So, in terms of you're talking a little bit earlier about the spike example, when you say you're transporting from Ohio to Pittsburgh or wherever, who's doing, are you paying for the transportation or
We,
who is there,
yeah, yeah, we
who
pay
does the
for that.
transportation?
We had two companies. One just retired, but we go through, like I said, we go through Brandy. She lives in Montana,
Hmm.
and she coordinates all the transportation. So we'll call her and say, "Hey, what do we have running here? What do we have running here?" And then we'll go ahead and book it with her. So I mean, basically, just a dog's usually going to be around $700 to transport. It
Hmm.
could be a little more, it could be like, but I'm not, when I'm saying a little less, I mean like maybe 25 or $30. But
Sure,
it's not, it's not going to be a high
yeah.
bar. But,
Right.
and we can transport we've put dogs in almost all 50 states. We helped put them in, and Canada. Now normally the transports don't go into Canada. They'll go meet at the border, and then they'll come and get the dogs and take them across the border.
Huh.
So,
That's
yeah,
interesting.
matter of fact, we have a Canadian couple that was here for a concert we had in Pittsburgh, and they love Peggy Sue. they wanted to take Peggy Sue home from the event. And, at the time, Peggy Sue came to us from Ohio and
Uh-huh.
she couldn't be adopted because she had heartworm
Hmm.
and she's not spayed. So we couldn't spay her until her heartworm was treated. And it
Hmm.
takes 9 months to get a negative test. So now she can get spayed. And the people still write me, how's Peggy Sue? Is she ready?
That is so great. So is this, starting this philanthropy a while ago, is this now kind of a full-time thing for you, or are you still working a job while you do this, or like same with
Well,
people on your team?
it's I mean, it's not supposed to be full time, but it is. I'll put it
Yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
I mean, we've slowed down a lot. Like in the summer we slow down because the dogs don't get adopted as much in the summer months. But because we're doing a lot in other time zones, I mean, there was a time where I would be getting phone calls at midnight, which was 9 o'clock somewhere else, or 1 o'clock. It was 10 o'clock. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
sleeping.
Hey, we're on the same time zone right now though, so that's good.
Yeah, yeah. This works out well, and uh, but we have a good team, and then we have she's not officially with us, but her name's Lana, and I've known her for years, and she actually brought Will the Thrill, the one Rottweiler, to us, and she helps us a lot, especially with the Doberman and the Poodle end of it. She networks. She has a good network, and she's very active with us. So I mean, I get a lot of help, but I mean, even if it's not with the other dogs, it's the dogs that I have, that I personally have for full time. So I mean, it's usually dog, 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 dog.
Yep.
So like like
Yeah.
like like right now we have at church they know I do this stuff. So we have a member that's going to be moving but can't take his dogs for a couple of weeks. So I'm trying to find fosters for two. Now I don't mind doing fosters for that because I know the dogs are going.
Right.
We know, but
You know it's gonna
trying
have
to
a place already, right? Yeah.
yeah. So trying to find, like for two dogs still is not easy. And
No.
so even if it's not directly what we do, it's hey, we want to help this guy out and make sure he can be reunited with his dogs.
It's
And
hard to say no, like you have these, you have this kind of network and these connections, these people, and like, while your the main thing you do is you're raising these funds. It is I can tell it's it's hard to say no. You want to help out everyone you can.
yeah, and then I mean I get maybe 50 a day. Hey, can you this dog's on the youth list at Riverside or this dog's in the youth list in Texas. And my first response is, do you have an adopter?
Yeah.
If you have an adopter, we will be more than happy to step in and help. Um, and then there's always that one dog, especially if it's a senior. I'll look at it and say, well, maybe we can find, so you work on certain situations and
Yeah.
but it is hard to say no, and it breaks your heart when you tell people that if you have an adopter, we can step in. If you don't have an adopter, and then people will always want us to network the dog, where we have to be careful because if you just network it 7 dogs a day, none of
No.
them are going to get
No.
adopted. You have to spread it out, and
Exactly.
so
I mean, I think that's a smart way to go about it, right? You have your boundaries, and of course, like you said, if there's a senior dog, or you can make, exemptions and stuff like that. But I think having that kind of methodology about what you do has allowed you to be successful over the last years.
yeah, it's I mean, like I said, we've had our trials and we've had our setbacks, but I mean, everyone does I mean, people don't understand that you can't magically just do something if the structure's not there. And we try to have the structure, and sometimes people say, hey, can you do this dog outside of our structure? And it just doesn't, it usually never works.
Sure.
Put it so it's not fair to the dog and it's not fair to everyone involved. And there's always comes down to money too. I
Yeah.
mean, money is unfortunately, if we don't have the funds to do something, we can't do it. I remember one transport, um, we had, I forget how many dogs we had on, but our bill was like $9,000. So like,
Make it work. Also,
yes.
Dave, I hate to cut you off. We're just under a minute, so I wanted to thank you before the Zoom just cuts off at the end.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, yeah.
And
Thanks for
and
having me. And
yeah.